There comes a moment in every life when the mirror no longer reflects who we truly are, but only who we've been too afraid to outgrow. A moment when the heart whispers, "You were made for more than this." And though the world may try to bind us to our old ways, our old names, and our old wounds, the soul refuses to stay small. Today, I want to speak to that brave place within you, the place that trembles yet still hopes, the place that aches yet still dreams. Because no matter where you stand, no matter what carved your past, you carry the power to rise, to unfold, to reinvent yourself into a version so true, so radiant, it lights up the path for others. So open your heart, open your ears, and open the pages of who you are becoming. For today, transformation begins. There are seasons in life when we begin to believe that our story has settled, that the chapters have grown predictable, that the ink on our identity has dried. But I want you to remember something tender and powerful. You are not finished yet. You are not a final draft. You are a living, breathing work of becoming. Like a river that refuses to be held hostage by stone, you too have the strength to carve new paths, new stories, new destinies. The world may expect you to stay who you were yesterday, but the river does not apologize for changing course, and neither should you. The truth is, life's greatest beauty is found not in what we have mastered, but in what we are still discovering about ourselves. Every sunrise holds a quiet reminder that renewal is stitched into the fabric of existence. The universe does not ask the sun to rise as the same sun it was the day before. It rises with new colors, new warmth, new light. In the same way, you are allowed to wake up differently. You are allowed to shift, to soften, to stretch beyond the borders of who others believe you should be. You are allowed to want more, to outgrow what once comforted you, and to step into a more courageous version of yourself. Growth is not betrayal. Reinvention is not abandonment. It is the purest form of honoring the deeper truth of who you are. Often, we are held back not by the world, but by the stories we continue to tell ourselves. We cling to old mistakes as if they define our destiny. We memorize our regrets as if reciting them makes them more true. But you are not the sum of your missteps. You are not the weight of your past. You are the strength that rose from it. You are the wisdom earned through fire. And every time life knocked you down, something in you, quiet but fierce, stood back up and whispered, "Not yet, my story is still unfolding." There is bravery in that whisper. There is rebirth in that rising. You must give yourself permission to evolve, to change your mind, to rewrite the script, to chase the version of yourself that makes you feel alive, rather than the version that makes you feel accepted. Reinvention isn't a moment, it is a movement. It is the gentle, ongoing choice to become someone who honors their own truth. It is the courage to step out of the familiar and into the unknown, trusting that life meets those who dare with open arms. So stand tall today, even if your voice trembles and your steps are unsure. Your journey is far from over. You are still blooming, still unfolding, still becoming the person your spirit always knew you could be. No matter how many storms you've weathered, no matter how many times you've questioned your worth, the river within you continues to flow. And as long as it flows, your story has more to tell. You are not finished yet. There comes a time when we must face the truth that the tallest walls standing between us and our becoming are often the ones we quietly built ourselves. They rise slowly, almost unnoticed, made not of brick, but of fear, not of stone, but of memories that hurt to touch, not of metal, but of the whispers we once believed about our worth. These walls were born on the days we felt too small, too broken, too unready to step forward. And though they once felt like protection, they gradually turned into boundaries that silenced our possibilities. To reinvent yourself, you must meet those walls with honesty. You must look at what you built out of survival and ask if it still serves the person you are becoming. It is not easy to walk beyond what once kept you safe. Familiar pain often feels easier than unfamiliar freedom. There is comfort in knowing what to expect, even when what you expect is disappointment. But life does not bloom inside confinement. The soul was not made to be kept behind fears that never came from its truth. When you finally dare to acknowledge the walls around you, you begin to see the cracks, tiny spaces where light has been trying to enter. And if you let that light in, even in the smallest breath, you start to remember who you were before fear convinced you to shrink. Breaking your walls is not an act of violence. It is an act of tenderness. It is sitting with the version of yourself who built them and whispering, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but I no longer need this." It is choosing understanding over judgment, compassion over shame. When you loosen the weight of old expectations, the heart begins to feel lighter. You discover that most of the barriers weren't meant to hold you forever. They were simply reflections of a moment when you didn't yet know your strength. And now, with wiser eyes and a steadier spirit, you can gently take them apart, brick by imagined brick. Every step you take outside those self-made walls is a declaration that your story is not defined by fear. It is shaped by courage. Reinvention begins not with a grand gesture, but with the quiet decision to choose your freedom over your familiarity. It begins when you let your spirit stretch in directions it was once denied. The world outside your walls may feel uncertain, but uncertainty is where possibility lives. It's where new dreams breathe. It's where a truer version of yourself begins to rise. And as you move beyond what once confined you, you will realize that the open space ahead is not empty. It is waiting, rich, welcoming, wide. It carries every opportunity you thought was lost, every dream you thought was too late to claim. When you step beyond your walls, you don't become someone new. You return to someone true. You return to the self that always knew you were meant to stand in the open, unafraid, unhidden, ready to rise into the fullness of who you are becoming. There is a tenderness in looking back at the life you have lived, a quiet reverence in acknowledging the roads that shaped you. Your past is a gallery of moments, some painted in triumph, others brushed with sorrow, and many colored by lessons you did not ask for, but received all the same. To honor your past is to recognize that each experience, whether gentle or harsh, handed you a piece of wisdom you carry today. It is to bow your head with gratitude to the version of you who walked through valleys you thought you'd never survive. That version deserves your respect. They were braver than you knew. But honoring your past does not mean building a home inside it. Too many hearts have become accidental prisoners of memories that were only meant to be teachers. Sometimes we hold on to an old hurt because it feels familiar, or we replay moments that broke us because moving forward feels uncertain. Yet a life lived entirely in yesterday leaves no room for the sunrise of tomorrow. You cannot reach for what is possible if your hands are still tightly wrapped around what once was. The past is a place to visit, not a place to stay. There is a quiet power in choosing to learn from what once wounded you instead of living in the shadow of it. Pain becomes purpose when you extract meaning from it instead of allowing it to define your story. Every disappointment that once weighed you down taught you what you deserve. Every heartbreak carved space inside you for deeper compassion. Every mistake became an invitation to grow. When you honor your past in this way, you transform it from a chain into a compass, guiding you but never restraining you. It is easy to believe that the person you were yesterday must dictate who you can be today. But life is far more generous than that. Reinvention is possible at every age, at every stage, in every season. You are not obligated to live out the patterns you inherited or the choices you regret. You are free to set your feet in a new direction, even if the world insists you stay in the old one. The past may shape your character, But the future is shaped by your courage. To step forward, you must loosen your grip on the chapters that no longer reflect the truth of who you are becoming. You must allow your spirit to breathe beyond the confines of memory. When you finally take that step, when you allow yourself to walk forward with your head lifted and your heart open, you will discover that the world has been waiting for you. There is life beyond what hurt you. There is hope beyond what you lost. There is beauty beyond what you once believed was the end of your story. Honor your past, yes, but do not build your home in it. You are meant to keep moving, keep rising, keep becoming. The road ahead is wide and waiting, and it carries a future that is ready to meet the person you are now brave enough to be. There are moments in life when pain settles into your bones so deeply that you begin to believe it has claimed you. Moments when the weight of what you've endured feels like too much for any heart to carry. But even in those moments, even in the quiet ache that no one else sees, there is a small and steady truth rising inside you. You were not meant to be broken by what tried to bury you. You were meant to rise through it. Pain is not a verdict, it is a passage. It is not a declaration of your defeat. It is a doorway into a deeper, stronger, more compassionate version of yourself. So many people try to outrun their hurt, trying to pretend it never touched them. They move fast, speak loudly, fill their days with noise so the silence won't remind them of what still lingers. But healing does not come from escaping what wounded you. Healing begins when you look your pain in the eye and decide you are more than what happened to you. When you choose to rise through pain, you are choosing not to let the wound write your story, but to let the wisdom it left behind guide your becoming. There is a kind of triumph that can only be born from truth, and the truth is, you survived what once felt impossible. Pain has a way of reshaping us, but not in the way we often fear. It can soften the hard places, widen the narrow spaces, deepen our empathy for others. Every scar is proof that you fought a battle and walked out with something sacred, resilience. You do not rise in spite of your struggle. You rise through it, using every lesson, every tear, every trembling step as part of the climb. There is no shame in the path you took to get here. There is no weakness in the moments you cried or questioned your worth. Those moments are evidence that your heart refused to give up, even when it was tired. Reinvention asks for courage, but courage is not always loud. Sometimes it is the quiet decision to get out of bed when your spirit feels heavy. Sometimes it is the choice to believe there is still goodness in the world, even after you've tasted the bitterness of loss. Sometimes courage looks like forgiving yourself for not knowing better before you learned better. Rising through your pain means allowing yourself to grow beyond it while carrying the understanding it gave you. You are not erasing your scars, you are honoring them by refusing to let them define your future. And when you truly begin to rise, you will notice something extraordinary. The same pain that once felt like an ending becomes the foundation for your new beginning. The heartbreak that once silenced you becomes the reason your voice grows stronger. The darkness you walk through becomes the light you shine for others who are still finding their way. Rising through pain is not just a personal transformation. It becomes a gift the world receives through you. You are not the hurt you endured. You are the strength that grew from it. And every day you rise, even a little, you prove that your story is far greater than your suffering. There is a quiet revolution that begins the moment you change the way you speak to yourself. Many people search for transformation in distant places, in new beginnings, in unfamiliar landscapes, but the most powerful shift begins within the walls of your own mind. Words are not just sounds that pass through the air, they are seeds, and every seed you plant in the soil of your spirit grows into the life you eventually live. When you speak harshly to yourself, you plant doubt. When you speak fear, you plant limitation. But when you speak love, courage, and possibility, you plant a future that rises with strength. So much of who we become begins with the quiet conversations we hold with ourselves in the moments no one else sees. We tell ourselves stories shaped by old wounds, old failures, and old voices that never truly knew our worth. Sometimes the most painful prison is the one built from the words we allow to echo in our own mind. But you have the power to rewrite that language. You have the authority to silence the critic that never belonged to you and amplify the voice that whispers hope. Reinvention begins with speaking to yourself as someone who deserves to rise. There is healing in choosing to be gentle with yourself, especially on the days you stumble. Some days you will feel strong and capable, and other days you will feel fragile and uncertain. Both are part of the journey. Speaking new life into yourself does not require perfection. It requires honesty. It requires the willingness to say, I am learning, instead of, I am failing. It requires choosing words that lift you instead of words that pull you deeper into doubt. You deserve to be spoken to with the same compassion you offer to others. When you shift your language, the world around you shifts with it. You begin to carry yourself differently. You walk into rooms with a quiet confidence. You make choices that honor your growth rather than your fear. You stop apologizing for wanting more, for becoming more, for dreaming bigger than the boundaries others set for you. Affirmations are not empty words. They are declarations of your rightful place in this world. They are reminders that you are worthy, capable, and rising. And as you continue to speak truth, kindness, and power into your own soul, you will notice that your life begins to mirror the language you chose. Opportunities that once felt out of reach start to find you. Relationships that honor your worth begin to grow. Doors you thought were closed forever begin to open. Because the universe responds to the energy you claim. And the energy you claim begins with the words you speak. So speak gently, speak boldly, speak with the understanding that your voice holds the power to shape your destiny. You are not defined by the words that once wounded you. You are defined by the words you choose now, words that breathe life, hope, and possibility into your becoming. You have the power to speak yourself into a life that honors your truth. And when you do, everything begins to change. Reinvention is not a single moment or one bold decision. It is a quiet unfolding, a series of small, sacred choices that slowly reshape the way you see yourself and the world. It begins the day you look at your life and realize you no longer wish to move through it as a shadow of your potential. It begins the moment you choose to release the version of yourself who survived, so you can become the version of yourself who lives. Reinventing yourself is not about escaping your past or denying your story. It is about deciding that your story still has chapters waiting to be written, with courage instead of fear, with hope instead of hesitation. Many people believe reinvention requires something dramatic, a new city, a new job, a new beginning drawn in bold strokes. But true reinvention often starts in the way you carry yourself in the quiet minutes of the morning. It starts in the way you speak your own name. It starts in the promises you whisper to your heart when no one else is listening. You reinvent yourself each time you choose gentleness instead of self-doubt. Each time you choose to rise instead of retreat. Each time you dare to believe there is more waiting for you than the life you settled for. There is a softness and a fire woven into the act of becoming. Reinvention asks you to peel back the layers that no longer belong to you. It asks you to step away from the roles that kept you small, the expectations that kept you silent, and the fears that kept you frozen in place. It invites you to rediscover the parts of yourself you buried just to survive. It encourages you to awaken dreams that once felt too distant to claim. And slowly, almost quietly, you begin to feel yourself expanding into someone who fits more comfortably inside your own skin. Along the way, you will meet resistance, not only from the world, but from the old patterns within you. The familiar will tug at your feet, asking you to stay where things are predictable. Your doubts will whisper that you don't have the strength. The past will try to convince you that change is too late. But remember this truth: the old you was shaped by circumstances. The new you will be shaped by choice. You are allowed to choose differently now. You are allowed to outgrow the version of yourself that kept you safe but never fulfilled. Reinventing yourself is an act of faith. It is trusting that the future has room for you. It is believing that life still holds surprises meant specifically for your hands, your voice, your heart. It is choosing to show up as the person you are always meant to be, even before the world taught you to dim your light. And as you step into this becoming, you will find that the world rearranges itself around your courage. You will see opportunities you once overlooked. You will attract people who recognize your growing strength. You will feel a quiet alignment settling into your bones. Reinvention is not about becoming someone else. It is about returning to yourself, your truest, deepest, most powerful self. The self that was always waiting beneath the noise of doubt. The self that knows you are meant to rise again and again into the fullness of your own light.